I'm going to give you a real quick snapshot of some projects in Ely and Cairo, and then Marie will kind of link into Glyncoch as we co-produce our presentation, as it were. But just a bit of background about Ely Cairo. Many of you be aware of Ely Cairo. Large housing estate on the west of Cardiff, 25 to 30,000 people, features in the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation quite highly in terms of the top 10%. And it's the kind of area, I live there, I've lived there for 10 years, and I've worked there on and off for about 10 years, a little break out in the country. But it's the kind of place that once you live there, once you work there, you grow to love it. It sucks you in, you get passionate about it, you don't want to leave, and it's a fantastic place just to work and to live, and that's all I can say really. But I wanted to start today's presentation. And I put their co-production theory into practice because for me that's kind of what it was. I heard this word co-production, I thought, what on earth does that mean? And then I kind of thought, I kind of understand it, and then I thought, well, I don't really know what it means actually. It's been that kind of journey of understanding about how you work with people and how they work with you actually. And I think we've realised it in Ely and Cairo with specific attempts like the Time Bank. We've worked with SPICE really closely. We've had lottery and Interreg funding that supported that. But then there's other projects where it just happens, because there's good practice, there's full thought, that's gone into it. But community members just take hold of stuff, and people get passionate about stuff and start delivering it themselves, which is great. And one of those is the debt advice drop-in that we run in Ely and Cairo. 2-3 years ago, we were pretty fed up with the amount of advice services run in Ely. It was supposed to be run by a citywide provision or agency, and it just wasn't happening. So basically a group of community members got together, we supported that process, we worked with them, and they developed their own advice service. Signposting it started. As it happened, the agency across Cardiff went bust actually, sadly, or perhaps it wasn't so sad, I don't know. And we started doing more work, and we linked them with Vale CAB, who provided some training with our community members, and there's just this partnership developed. People, they started working, the approach was right, and all of a sudden you had an advice session happening with a CAB staff member and a community member, and then slowly it turned into 2 community members running the advice service. They'd been trained, they were doing it themselves, they were getting passionate about it, and there was a real vision, I suppose, to take it forward, and there still, absolutely still is, beyond, the kind of the quick fix that we put in place and the way it developed. Key thing with the debt advice drop-in, one of the things I think challenges with co-production is in Cardiff that service has been tendered out, and I'm thinking, well, how does that work? Does one big organisation get it and come into our community and deliver it, completely ignore the community work that's going on? Well, I hope not. We will really fight that not to happen. Second example, ACE. I like talking about ACE because it's been real hard work to do it, and it's been a mixture of community members, people who work in the community. We created a development trust, if you like, Action in Cairo and Ely. Predominantly, the reason for taking it on was we were looking towards 2012 with our Communities First hats on, thinking, blimey, there's not going to be any Communities First. We want some sort of lasting legacy for Communities First for this work. It worked really effectively in Ely and Cairo over the last sort of 5 or 6 years. We wanted some lasting legacy, something that would really take on some of that work, even if it was just a little bit of it, to catch maybe the debt advice drop-in, whatever. So we've set it up. We've worked really hard. It's a charity, company limited by guarantee, charity, whatever. And to be honest, we've looked at other examples like Blind Garou creation, like Glyncoch, and we've learned from them. And we've aspired to be like them actually, and it's very inspiring hearing about stories and thinking that's where we want to be. That's what we're aspiring to be. But the good news with ACE, and I'll shut up in a minute and hand over to Anne-Marie about the Time Bank, is with the future of Communities First, we've worked really closely with Cardiff Council. And they've taken a risk essentially. They have to be careful, just checking there's no one I'm going to jeopardise ACE's chances. But they essentially they've taken a risk on Communities First, or maybe not. Let's not call it a risk. Let's call it a good opportunity. And they're saying, Communities First will be delivered by community organisations across Cardiff. And fantastic, a really, a good example of co-production, a big tick for Cardiff Council. in the way that that's developed and worked. So we're really happy about that, and there's a good future for that. Gives us a good chance to develop ACE, to deliver communities first objectives, outcomes, whatever Welsh Government want to call them. But it means that we're there and it's community based, and crucial to that is our time bank, and we absolutely have nicked ideas from various organisations and looked at, Glyncoch and Blaengarrow and other examples, worked with Time Bank Wales, worked really closely with Spice to develop a time bank. And really, what that's done for us, and we'll show a video and we'll link into Glyncoch, it's created a network really. Ely's not got a centre of community, it's got pockets of community everywhere around activities and locations. There's not a centre street or anything like that. And it's delivered a mechanism, a tool where we started to see groups network together. We started to see people who'd never volunteered before, like Dawn said, they've just come out of the woodwork really, and they've started to be involved. Really, really inspiring. I'll hand over to Anne-Marie, who's going to just talk a little bit more about our time bank.
I think it was in July, 5 residents from Ely they're all quite different. Some were already quite active in the community, some weren't but wanted to be. We went over to Glyncoch and met with some of their residents. The Glyncoch Time Credits project is about 3 years ahead of us. So we went over to talk to some of their residents about their experiences and about what kind of projects they'd been involved with, how did they start off and that kind of thing. And we had a really nice day. And then we stayed behind, and the community members from Ely went off on a little walk around with the community members from Glyncoch to go and have a look at the physical change that had been created. So they've made a park and there's various sort of murals and different things that they've done. So they went off and had a walk around.
It's not our roles that are important in this. We facilitate that process, whereas these volunteers actually take that process forward. So it's about empowering these guys to sort of get together, create the environment for them to go off then and talk amongst themselves. And groups of residents and families from Glyncoch came to the Community Fun Day in Ely. We went down, took a minibus down, had a family fun day down in Western Leisure Centre. I had a family member with 4 of her children who went, who I'd never seen her go off the estate at all. And she was like, oh yeah, I'd like to go. And then she actually went. So that for me was a major achievement. And again, it was linking in with some of the things going on in Cairo Ely, and meeting some of the residents, Rachel and everything else I'd already met up with. So it was like merging those links together and creating those bonds a bit more deeply with them.
Yeah, and first of all as well, actually, before we went up there, I forgot to mention, something really important and was really quite fundamental in setting up the Time Credits project in Ely was some of the community members from Glyncoch came down and talked to our community's first team, and when we were doing our training, we actually had community members there who were able to come and talk about their experiences, and I think for the community's first staff, that really helped them visualise how it could work in their community, so that was quite important. And then more recently we took 10 people from Ely over to the Glyncoch Festival, and that included a local councillor who actually chairs the festival committee, and we just went and we spent a day there. Their festival's smaller in size than what we usually have in Ely, but it's a lot more community focused, so it's a very different experience. And so from going there we were able to have a really good chat on the way back about is there things that we could take that they're doing at their festival to come and do at our festival, and so now there's quite a lot of ideas and plans of how to make the Ely Festival a lot more community focused.
I think we recognise the fact that in Glyncoch we've been quite successful with some of our environmental projects. But we are recognising some of our volunteers are getting a little bit stale on working in their own community. So I thought the idea of probably sharing resources with Cairo Ely and moving them out of the community into a different community and sharing their knowledge and experience out there is a way of engaging them and growing them as well as individuals. And obviously volunteers to visit each other's projects and events, we're really keen to sort of like move this merger thing. So if we have trips, activities going on, they're very much a shared approach to everything else. They join together with that process.
Yeah, and we're also looking to implement more training for our community leaders, because we recognise that it's the people in the community and that they need to be able to sort of have the skills or the confidence to be able to go ahead with some of their ideas. And there's definitely the enthusiasm, and lots of people have got lots of ideas about the things that they'd like to see change in their community, but they don't necessarily know how to go about it or have the confidence or the skills to do it. So we're looking to provide more leadership training for those people in the community, then with the idea that then we support them to go on and train members of their groups or other people that they know in the community. And so instead of it just relying on us doing things or setting up projects and events, it really becomes sort of community led, and that they then sort of go on to train other community members.
Well, thank you very much for asking us to come and speak. We've had an awful lot of compliments from Ely and Kyra, and I really want the opportunity to reciprocate now. But we have been massively inspired by the work in Ely and Kyra, and we'll continue to do so, and I think that so much good stuff is going to come out of our partnership work together. This is like a snapshot of Glyncoch. Does anybody know where Glyncoch is? It's this wonderful community 2 miles north of Pontypridd, in Rhondda and Tap, a community brimming with potential. So if you're a property developer, buy your houses in. But you've seen the definition of co-production, which I really love. I love the word co-production, and I really love all the buzzwords that come with it. And I remember talking about it in a community meeting. It's like, you know, what it meant and how cool it is, and about equality and mutuality. And one of my colleagues said, "You mean we're just in it together?" I was like, yeah, that is, yeah, you're right, yeah. And that's exactly the word that you were using as well, so great minds and everything. So in our approach, and which has, I must say, has been influenced massively by Jeff Thomas from Time Bank in Wales. Jeff and his colleague Becky, who now works for Spice, have been a huge influence on us, and they introduced us to Dawn and Creation Development, and they built our networks with Ely and Kyra as well. So a massive impact on our thinking. And they also introduced us to the guru, Edgar Khan. Massively inspiring, I agree. So, but our key approach is very much like the one that you guys are describing about recognising people as assets. Sometimes in our more disadvantaged communities, and Glyncoch has been, you know, designated as a disadvantaged community in the Welsh Index of Deprivation and whatnot. But sometimes we see we do a needs analysis, and we look at the needs and we work from the needs, and we really miss out on the incredible assets that are around us, around the people. And we also see, like I said, and I'm guilty of it, so I said earlier, Glyncoch is a community brimming with potential, and but we're trying to work more consciously on the premise of recognising people for what they've got now, not what their potential, for what they got now, all the tremendous skills and attributes that they got now. So they're trying to do that more consciously, really. And it's just very much like what Nick Andrews was saying earlier. I think that in terms of the welfare state, which I'm sure most of the people in this room are like strong believers in the welfare state, and I continue to be a strong believer in the welfare state, and for admiration for Nye Bevan and the other people that brought it together. But in terms of our social evolution as the welfare state is really new. I mean, it's, you know, the post-war, you know, the late 40s, early 50s. In terms of our social evolution, which has taken thousands and thousands of years, it's a snapshot in time. So we're learning all the time as a society how to get it right. So welfare state is really good. But one of the things that we discover in our welfare state is when we go situations where people are more disadvantaged or needy, we organise a whole range of services around them. And I know you've said this, I'm repeating what you've said really, but I think it's so critical that the subliminal message often when we are giving people lots of services and doing lots of things for people all of the time, the subliminal message, which Edgar Khan said and the man himself said, subliminal message is that you got bugger all to offer yourself, you know, and that's a really awful way of doing society. So as a society that's trying to be more fair and more just, we've got to learn to value what people can give and give the space for people to give and contribute and to give and to receive and so on. Okay, right then, so our particular approach is attempt to harness that, and our particular approach to the social change is attempt to harness that. So when we were discovering, we were learning object, we really realised that our partnership meetings were boring as hell. In a community of less than 3,000 people, we like our partnership meetings with a few really well-meaning people from different agencies and organisations, and like one or two people from a community. Like, no way does this mirror the massive energy and passion people have got. We are trying, and we haven't got it yet, but I really think we're onto something. So we're trying to find a way of working, a way of facilitating social change that harnesses that. You know, the normal business planning cycles wasn't really working for us. You know, where you neatly identify the need, and then you do a little plan, and then you implement the plan, and then you think about what you've learned from a plan. I mean, how would you do a community like that, you know, like in little sections? So we were trying to find a way, basically, to embrace the chaos. So, and to tap in to the, you know, the collective energy. And trying to figure out a way of doing this, we asked a guy called John Duff. Does anybody know John Duff from Community Development Coming? If you don't already know him, just introduce yourselves. He's come up with a concept called a quadruple helix, because he recognised that really we need, in community work and doing social change, yeah, we do need to find out what people want to change, and yeah, we do need to plan and evaluate and consult and do. But it kind of all needs to happen at the same time. And I haven't got very good technical abilities when it comes to the computer. So the quadruple helix isn't really visually represented here. So what I need you to do is co-produce with me your own visual interpretation of what a quadruple helix would look like. So something like this, anyway. So basically, we carry on doing and learning and in some chaotic way together. That, and that turns into a little bit of a virtuous circle. And we haven't mastered this by a long shot. It's not perfect in Glyncoch yet, and probably because of my failings, it's still a little bit chaotic. But fortunately, we're very organised team members and very organised people within the community around me that are finding ways to make this way of working have an impact. The way it works, basically, is that by doing stuff with people, we get to know them a little bit better. So by building relationships, you get to find out what's really important. We do the formal surveys and stuff as well, but then it's only through working with people and getting to know people you get a really strong sense of what's important. And then people identify key priorities. And so traditionally, they've been like, you know, getting more people involved, improving the local environment, and always improving education. And more recently, health has become a key priority. So, and this is our way of like just tapping into what's important to local people. So what we do then is, like, once we got a good sense of what maybe the 3 key priorities are a year, we're desperate not to call them meetings. We call them like action planning gatherings or anything, you know, we use thesaurus to try and find ways. But anyway, we bring people together in a room around particular themes, only once a year because meetings are too boring, we don't want to do it too often. But it really works. This way of working is really working. But basically, so for example, in February we had a health action planning meeting, and we invited the local GP and some people from various health services and so on, and people from the community that were really passionate about health, obviously. And we got a blank sheet of paper on the wall, you know, and like an action plan, blank action plan on the wall, and we invite really people to talk about what the key issues are. And the GP gave a little bit of a presentation on what the health stats were in the area, and she also mentioned how she'd been on a visit to Uganda, and she'd done a project where she supported people in different villages in Uganda to become community health leaders. And she found that in the room, people from Glyncoch were saying, well, our health stats are not really fair. You know, people in more affluent areas have got much better health stats than this. And we quite like the idea of this Uganda idea, you know, what they did in Uganda and about training up to be community health advocates and doing that peer-led kind of health promotion work. And so there's 15 people signed up and people are training up as community health advocates. One of them's going to be speaking to you just now. So basically they do an action plan, implement it over the year, and then the following year come together and see how we've done. And it's also a lovely way of making service providers accountable to the community. Because if you come along the following year and you're standing up in front of the community telling them what you haven't done, it's a bit embarrassing. So you naturally do it. So it's a nice way of getting the best out of people. But what I love about this kind of way of working, it's not particularly confrontational, or you know, the traditional public meeting thing where you get up and say, I had my say, I got up and I told them. It's not particularly like that. You got people like looking at a problem together and trying to create a solution to that problem. So, and the stuff people bounce off each other and the stuff people come up with is always fabulously much better than any one individual could come up with. So I'm bowled over every time. And what I'm really bowled over about, and you can shut up in a minute, but what I'm really bowled over about is the way some of the most disadvantaged people, or maybe the least confident people in our community, have a say in these events. And they talk to maybe the leader of the local health board and whatever you, because it's very much an equal settings. Anyway, the impact is significant. Early 2009, crime levels are rocketing. The local pot shop was petrol bombed. I don't love that bit, but and we had racist graffiti and stuff like that. And we had a few tricky issues to deal with. Anyway, the local community got together with the police and the local community safety team and everything. Everybody decided what they were going to do, and the Festival Society decided to do a load of multicultural workshops. Valley's Race Equality Council come and did a load of things, the police come and did a load of things. Anyway, people were sitting around falling over themselves to contribute to this, you know, community action plan. And within 6 months, not within 5, within 6 months, crime levels went down to 0 for the summer of 2009. And they're not down to 0 now, but they still, in 2012, the lowest in the Pontypridd district. Anyway, loads of stuff about people, you know, building parks together. We haven't got no money in RCT to parks, so they look at what we got. We got a construction skills training project. We got loads of people who are really handy. Let's just do it. The education, the education has been quite extraordinary, really, because there's some real movement taking place, and one of the most difficult fields to really embed social change, but it's happening, and there's like over 100 people a year on courses, and not only being passive recipients of education, but also actively teaching others. But what I'm bowled over about is how different our community are coming together with like really cutting edge agencies like the People and Work Unit and the lead thinkers in education like David Egan, Professor David Egan and Will, really coming together and coming up with solutions and basically really making a difference. And we think we are getting to a cultural tipping point where education and engagement with education is increasingly becoming the norm. Anyway, I'm on to the more interesting bit now. I'm introducing now an agent of change called Rachel Morris, who's going to speak on behalf of Katrina Oliver and Pauline Ellis. But these people are truly inspirational, real agents of change, introducing in our community real differences, influencing the diets of whole families, changing the way people perceive themselves, helping other people get involved and contribute more meaningfully to their community. The difference they're making is phenomenal, and I'm not going to say any more because Rachel is more than capable of telling you a wonderful story.
God. Well, I think Jen's bigged me up so much, she made me sound like God. Unfortunately, I'm not. But I do try. I'm not actually, when I began working with Communities First, I wasn't actually a Glyncoch resident. Oops. Although I was born in Glyncoch and was raised there all my life. However, my son, who attends local high school, came home one day and said to me, Mum, I want to go on this trip. Guy's somewhere in North Wales, I don't know. I might be Welsh, but I can't pronounce any of those words. And but he could only go if he had, a stupid amount of time credits. I think it was about 30 time credits. So it was. So at the time, I was doing a load of adult education courses within Glyncoch, and I've got OTNs coming up my years now. I can do anything from food and nutrition to psychology. It's fantastic. So I had a word with Cheryl, and she said to me, Julian, that's my brother, he's got loads of time credits. We'll lend Jacob these time credits if, in the summer, you come and he earns them back himself. So come the summer, off we trot, and we did everything you could possibly imagine, from painting bus stops in the rain to building greenhouses out of plastic bottles. From that, I then got involved with our local health eating group, Weight Busters. And one week Sam said to me, that's one of their colleagues, she said to me, can you run this group for me this week? I'm doing whatever. So I went over, I took that one class, and that for me was just my life-changing experience. I did that one class. I now actually run that class with the help of Pauline, who when she first came wouldn't say boo to a goose, and is now happily taken over. Which you can see, we're all there cooking, I don't know what it is, something really nice and healthy, which is what we do every week. We come in, we weigh, we cook, always something healthy, something we can generally adapt from, processed food. And then we just have a little chat, and we have a little raffle so they can take home all the ingredients that we've made that day to cook at home. So once from there, Sam came up with the other challenge for me, because they do like to push your boundaries in Glyncoch. She said to me, all these lovely stuff you're cooking in Weight Busters, how about you cater for our AGM? So this me, 50 people in my kitchen by myself, cooking all this wonderful food. I don't know whether Sam saw something in me from that point, or whether she was just trying to be silly and save himself some money. I did, however, manage this, and from this, I actually created my own business, because I believe the food should be natural and food should be home cooked. Make your own pizza. Don't go to Iceland and buy one. They don't need your money anyway. So anyway, that's enough about me and what I did. But we'll just quickly focus on the Kyra Reilly things. Meeting with Kyra Reilly was really, really inspiring, and watching that video actually made me feel quite emotional, because you get praise from people like Jen every day. In fact, Jen's a massive ambassador for praise. And if I listened to everything that she said, my head would be like that. But watching the videos and thinking that myself and Pauline and Patrina, who unfortunately isn't very well today, so couldn't tell her own story, have made that difference to another community, and then going down to the community and recognising and having a lovely conversation with them, and the same when they came to our festival, sat in the kitchen, and again, massive 150 lunch, all in my house. All 6 of us from the community in our house, buttering to make 600 sandwiches, you name it, we've done it. And seeing that it's amazing. The fact that us, who, this time last year, I would never have stood up and spoken to all you people at the AGM. Jen asked me to speak for 2 minutes, and I was having a panic attack in the kitchen. I can't do this. So to come from that to this is really, really amazing. And if, this time next year, you have the same conference, and instead of seeing people on video, you could see them up on the screen, that on stage, that would be absolutely amazing too. Okay, thanks.